indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call being requested. Jill?
Here.
Rob?
Here.
George?
Here.
Bonnie?
Here.
And Dave is as of yet not present. And Ken?
Here.
And I am present. Roll call is complete, and now I'll give an overview of the proceedings for the Board of Adjustment and an overview of what we do here. So I have a couple of announcements to make. If you're in possession of a cell phone or some other electronic paging device, I ask that you put it on silent mode at this time. Also, please note that all testimony is being tape recorded for the record. If you're going to speak, you'll be asked to state your name and address for the record first, and then go ahead with your input when you've been recognized by me, the chair. Members of the Board of Adjustment are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners, with one from each of the 5 commissioner districts, 1 member at large, and 1 member appointed from the Planning Commission. I'll give a brief overview of our proceedings for this evening. I'll read the variance request and open the public hearing. While I'm reading a request, I would ask that the applicant or their representatives come forward and have a seat in front of the board by the microphone over there. The applicant or their representative will be asked to state their name or address for the record. Environmental Services staff will provide a brief overview of the requested variance, the staff report, and if any correspondence has been received regarding the variance. The applicant or their representative will provide any input, corrections, concerns, or comments. Once the applicant or the representatives provided their testimony, the board will discuss the request and ask questions of staff or the applicant or their representative. Upon completion of the board questions, I will ask if there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak to this request. If there is, I'd ask the person to come up to the podium, state their name and address for the record, and give their testimony. When all testimony is complete, I'll ask the board members for a motion to close the public hearing. Once the motion is passed to close the public hearing, there will be no further input from the audience, from the applicant or Environmental Services staff, unless recognized by the chair or if one of the board members wants some type of question answered or a clarification. The board will review and discuss the finding of facts. The findings are a series of questions that the board is required to answer based on Minnesota statutes and the requirements of that ordinance. Based upon these answers to these questions, the board will either grant or deny the variance request. All questions must be answered in the affirmative by the board. Once the findings are complete, there will be a motion to approve or deny the variance request. So that's kind of our general rule of thumb, how proceedings go for the Board of Adjustment meetings. So with that, we'll start our evening with agenda item number 1, John and Kylene Zimmerman of Belgrade, from section 695 of Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance 439 to construct a feedlot less than 50 feet from the south property line. Said ordinance requires a minimum setback of 50 feet from a property line to a feedlot registered for 10 animal units or more. Affected property address 36-125, 34 10.1I, part of Northwest 4, Northeast 4, Section 36, Township 125, Range 34, Getty Township, and that address is 32934 County Road 13 in Sauk Center, Minnesota. So if that applicant can step forward, please. And give your name and address for the public record.
John Zimmerman, and my address is 39046 Nightingale Road, Belgrade, Minnesota.
Thank you very much. And then staff.
We didn't get that.
Oh, okay. If you can repeat your name and address for the record again, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just your name and address.
Yep.
John Zimmerman, 39046 Nightingale Road, Belgrade, Minnesota.
Okay, thank you very much. And then before the staff report, I'll do a roll call of members who are able to visit this site. Jill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
George?
No.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I did as well. And then staff to report.
Okay. As stated, the applicant's requesting a variance to construct a liquid manure storage area 41 feet from the south property line. The said ordinance requires a 50-foot setback to a property line from a feedlot registered for 10 animal units or more. The property is 10.19 acres in size and zoned A160. The requested 41-foot setback is an 18% deviation from the required 50-foot setback. An inspection was done by staff on April 26, 2022, and the site was deemed compliant for water quality. At that time, land application records were not submitted within 30 days, so they were non-compliant. I do have a note just to add that the records were reviewed last week and found to be compliant except for Recent manure analysis samples do need to be submitted for those to be compliant as well. The parcels on either side of this property, if we have a map to, yeah, I think you can see it on that one, are both in John and Kayleen Zimmerman's names. The one to the south of the farm, that one is contract for deed currently, and that is the reason for the request for the variance or the need for it. The contract holders for the deed are Richard and Janet Weisty, thank you. The applicants are proposing a 120 by 165 by 13 liquid manure storage area. That is number 6 on the map. You can see that would be the orange rectangle. There's no change in animal units proposed. This is just for manure storage capacity to be increased. And the feedlot's currently registered for 158 animal units consisting of 50 mature cows, 50 heifers, 50 calves, 35 slaughter steers, and 40 feeder cattle. The feedlot was originally registered on January 18, 2000, has remained active and registered. As far as alternatives go, it would be to either grant or deny the variance request based on the findings of fact, or the applicant applies to build 50 feet from the property line to meet the setback of ordinance 439. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Oh, sorry. No, there was one correspondence received. I apologize. Oh, no, that was for the next request. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. John, if you have anything to say to the board, any clarifications, anything you wish to say for this request or anything, now's the time.
Well, I guess not really, except I own the property on both sides, and as soon as we have enough time to, I mean, the seller wasn't willing to take money ahead to pay down ahead, so I could secure that or combine those two and get a deed. And we have future plans, and we didn't want to move the lagoon because that would interfere with future plans to the north. And no, I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay. Any board members, any questions for staff or the applicant?
Mr. Chair, question for the applicant. So could you explain why you do not want it to be the full 50 feet from the property line, please?
Because of future plans, we plan to someday build a dairy barn directly to the north, and I want it to run that north line to run perpendicular or in line with the existing. I can't read the number there of the building directly to well, it's not on there. We constructed a larger heifer barn there that's right to the right of the lagoon. Number 8. Is that, yeah, I just can't make that number out. I should have my paper.
It's hard to see, but I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, it's number 8. Yeah. So if we'd move the lagoon 10 feet north, it would just, our future plans is to put a dairy barn in there, and I would like to have that going straight through there.
Will there be any impact on the crops that are growing just south of where you're proposing the manure?
No. Well, it will take some crops, so it'll cut into the cropland, but it won't, slightly, but very little.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant or staff? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak to this request? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak to this request? I have to ask it one more time by statute. Anyone from the audience wishing to speak to this request? Hearing none, looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
Jill DeLong, so moved.
I have a motion from Jill. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
George. All right. All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Opposed? Same side, motion carries. Now moving to our finding of facts this evening, number 1. The proposed use is allowed in the zoning districts in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Bonnie Mossman, feedlots are allowed in A160 zoning.
Okay, we have a yes from Bonnie. Jill?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Myself, I'm a yes. Rob?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
All right, we have a yes for number 1. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official control, yes or no?
Bonnie Mossman, under the land use and zoning policy 1.2B, relates to promoting agricultural development.
Okay, we have a yes from Bonnie for number 2. Jill?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Rob?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
Yes for number 2. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Yes or no?
Jill DeLong, I believe that under agricultural goals, number 4, to strive for and support higher farm profitability and family farm stability, that it is consistent.
Okay, we have a yes from Jill. George?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
Yes for number 3. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Jill DeLong, I believe it is reasonable to build a feedlot on your own land, and it's almost in the same, it's almost close or far enough away from the border of the parcel. So yes.
Okay, yes from Jill. George?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
Yes for number 4. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner, yes or no?
Bonnie Mossman, I would say yes, it is, because they're looking toward future expansion planning, and therefore the circumstances are that they don't want to inhibit the future expansion.
Okay, yes from Bonnie. Jill?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Rob?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
Yes for number 5. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Mr. Chairman, Rob Schweigel, I'm going to say it will not change. A bigger hole in the ground, bigger holding area, but
Sure.
won't
Okay.
change anything.
Okay, yes from Rob. Jill?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
I'm yes. Bonnie?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
Yes for number 6. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations, yes or no?
Bonnie Mossman, the economics would not be affected by the location of the feedlot.
Okay, yes from Bonnie. Jill?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Rob?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
All right, all questions being, 7 questions being answered in the affirmative, I'd look for a motion and a second to approve this variance request.
Mr. Chair, Jill DeLong, I move that we approve a variance to construct a liquid manure storage area 41 feet from the south property line.
Okay, we have a motion from Jill. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Second from George. All right, the remaining votes, Bonnie,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So your motion, your variance motion does pass. If any questions, please do ask staff during regular business hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, moving now to item number 2. Request from Linnell, how do you say it? Sobian? Hey, I would have had it. All right. Very good. Upholding for to amended condition on variance P 015385 granted on April 23rd of 2020. The condition requires a privacy fence 8 feet in height along the south side of the property. Affected property is south 466.69 of the western part, 46669 of the northwest 4, northwest 4, township range 126, range 29, and then that address is 42802 County Road 3 in Holdingford, Minnesota. And then your name and address for the record, please.
Lionel Sabania, 13888 River Street, Holdingford.
Okay, thank you very much. And then for the site visits, who was all able to visit? Jill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
I was able to visit. Bonnie?
Yes.
And then Ken?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. And then environmental services.
All right. The applicant is requesting to amend a condition placed on variance P015385 that was granted on April 23rd, 2020. The condition requires a privacy fence 8 feet high in height along the south side of the property line. This property is 5 acres in Section 7 in Brockway Township. The portion of the parcel with existing mobile home is zoned residential manufactured home, and the remaining area of the parcel is zoned A40. The applicant stated in the variance application that he would like to amend the condition placed on variance as stated P015385. The variance was granted for a 394-foot setback from a proposed dwelling for the mobile home to the feedlot to the south. The variance condition required the privacy fence along the south property line. The applicant would like to end the privacy fence at the end of the yard where the woods and wetlands begin. A portion of the required privacy fence along the south property line was installed. The installed portion runs from the road right-of-way to approximately 130 feet east of the mobile homes. We did receive a correspondence from Kevin and Deb Trout, who own the feedlot to the south, and they are in support of the request. And they have submitted a statement. In 2021, the feedlot located to the south was registered for 241 animal units. In 2020, the feedlot was to the southeast was registered for 255 animal units. Alternatives for this request would be to grant or deny the amendment of the existing condition. And the correspondence that I have received is from July 7th, 2022. And it states, to whom it may concern, we, Kevin and Deb Trout, owners of property south side of Mobile Park, agree to end privacy fence as it currently is installed. Do not go to the property line. Signed, Kevin and Deb Trout. And that is all I have.
And then that letter is included in our packet as well for those who wanted to see that. And then applicant, to your request, anything you want to say to the board?
I'm good.
Okay. Any questions from board members to the applicant and or staff at this time?
Mr. Chair, I don't know who I direct this to, but back in 2020, the requirement was to construct the fence. And my understanding was it didn't go the entire way. I'm just wondering why it wasn't installed the entire way.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the board, I don't know, Shelley, if you can pull up a map of the whole parcel possibly. Let's see what she can find here. So east of the mobile home, it does get very wooded, and there really isn't a need for a fence because there isn't any residence there. It's wooded. You'd be taking trees down and put up a fence. So it in a sense defeats the point of the fence, and both landowners seem to have agreed that putting the privacy fence as far as it is and can currently go without removing trees seems to be sufficient. I don't know. You can maybe attest to that also. I don't know.
Yeah, and as far as trying to put it in, on the other side of County Road 3, they tiled it, and now the water is coming on that side, which is making it like extremely wet back there. I mean, to put a fence up and not have it blow over, I don't know how you do it. I've been trying to put that fence up for a year, and it's just wet. I mean, you just can't.
Shelley?
I tried driving the excavator down there. I tore all the trees out all the way up to that point. But after that, it just drops. It just sinks. And he's got his, I don't know if you call it Amish-made tightening electric fence. So if I were to put it beside it, if the wind did blow, it would cause more harm than any good.
Yeah, Mr.
And you
Chair,
can't see from one side to the other. You can't even see through there. Like now you look in there, it's just solid trees and swamp.
yeah, I'm not questioning the need for a fence at this point in time. I think what has been stated makes sense. I was just wondering, back when this was originally looked at in 2020, the forum made a decision that they needed a fence a certain distance, and it was never installed the whole way. I was just curious about it.
What?
Chair, members of Member Fiedler, I think the other part of this, Shelley Benson, Environmental Services Director, the other part of this is that the practical application of construction of the fence isn't always known until you start constructing the fence at the location. So I think in the purpose and intent was to put up the screening, have the fence, but then practical application started to occur and couldn't get the fence in, and that's why we're here, is to amend the condition so that it reflects the current situation for actually being able to construct that fence.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from anybody? Hearing none, again, required by statute. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to this request? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request? Hearing none, looking for a motion and a second to close the public hearing, please.
Jill DeLong, so moved.
Motion from Jill. Can I get a second?
Bonnie Mossman, second.
Bonnie, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving now to our finding of facts. Number one, the proposed use is allowed in the zoning districts in which the subject property is located. Yes or no?
I don't know that we do we need findings.
Do we need?
Being it's an amendment to the request, well, I had it written here. There should be no findings of fact for this. It would just be to either grant or deny the amendment, yes.
Mr. Chair, Jill DeLong, as a person who was here at that meeting in 2020, and even in the minutes, it says that the purpose of the privacy fence was to help with sounds and smells from both sides of the property. And it sounds like where the privacy fence is currently being built or currently exists covers where humans really are going to be. Where it's swampier and back in the woods, I don't think its purpose is not to keep people out or animals out. The purpose was just to shield both the living area and the farm on the other side. And I feel like we just weren't specific enough when we did say to put the fence on the property line. So I think that it would be a good thing to approve.
You can make that in the form of a motion.
Is that, I don't know, are we supposed to be moving?
I assume you'd have to make a motion in a
Okay,
second, then just
great.
vote. Okay.
So then I move that we do approve this amendment.
All right, we have a motion from Jill. Can I get a second?
George Fiedler, I'll second it.
Second from George. The remaining votes. I'm a yes. Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
With that, the variance request for change is approved. If you have any questions for staff, please do come back on business hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That one was fast.
Item number 3, to consider an after-the-fact request from Brian and Jean Pilarski of Avon from sections 6.21A and 6.52 or 542B to leave as constructed a pole-mounted solar panel more than 25 feet in height when oriented at a maximum tilt and more than a maximum allowed accessory building area in the Shoreland Overlay District. Also a request from sections 6.21A and E to construct an accessory structure addition more than the maximum allowed area, sidewall height, and building height. Said ordinance requires pole-mounted solar systems not to exceed 25 feet in height when oriented at a maximum tilt and allows a maximum accessory building area of 1,500 square feet, sidewall height of 12 feet, and a building height of 20 feet on a property 1-199 acres. Affected property lot 3, block 2 of Jarnett Addition, Avon Township, and that property address is 19274 Red Oak Circle, Minnesota. And applicant, can I get your name and address for the public record, please?
Mr. Chair, before we move forward, I want to abstain from this
Okay.
one. I know Brian very well. He actually does work for me occasionally. He's my HVAC guy, so I will abstain.
Okay, thank you. And then can I get your name and address for the public record, please?
Brian Pilarski, 192 7th floor, Red Oak Circle.
Thank you very much. And then actually, yes, can I get the roll call of those who had visited the site? Jill?
Yes, and I did speak with the applicant.
Okay, Rob?
Yes.
George?
No.
I did. Bonnie?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
All right, and environmental staff, to your report, please.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The applicants purchased the property, as you stated, Lot 3, Block 2 of Jarnett Addition in 1990. The plat was done in 1978. This tract is approximately 1.84 acres, and it's in an R5 zoning district, but the R1 setbacks and uses apply because of the size. It's obviously in the Shoreland Overlay District, but it is non-riparian. The ordinance allows for property of this size to have a maximum accessory building area of 1,500 square feet with 12-foot sidewalls and a 20-foot overall building height. So just a little history on the property. In 1990, when they purchased the property, they obtained a valid construction site permit to construct the house and attached garage. In 95, the current detached garage, which is 28 by 40, was constructed per our county assessor's records. It was 95. We do not have record of a permit on that structure. The applicant stated that he did obtain a permit through Avon Township and was told that he didn't need a county permit. The structure does meet all the required setbacks and the sidewall and building height allowances. So moving on to 2010, the applicants applied for and were granted a variance to install 2 pole-mounted solar panels, 26 feet in height when they are oriented at maximum tilt. That requirement, or the height restriction at that time, was 15 feet. It's currently 25 feet. They did then get a construction site permit for the panels, and with the panels, that resulted in a total accessory building area of 1708. And then a third panel was installed. It wasn't on the original permit, and the applicant can speak to that. But at that time, the department wasn't recognizing the solar panels into the maximum accessory building area, which we now do. So with the detached garage and the 3 panels, we're at 2,002 square feet. And then again in 2010, when they applied for that variance, there were the 2 additional storage sheds on the property that are there currently. In 2010, we did not do an overall property assessment and look at unpermitted structures and that type of thing. So that was not recognized at that time in 2010 when they applied for that variance. In terms of the number of accessory structures allowed, the 3 pole-mounted panels do count as one of 2 total buildings allowed. So currently, we have the panels as 1, the detached garage 2, and the other 2 sheds, there's 4. So now the applicants would like to construct a 34 by 40 addition to the existing 28 by 40. That would have 16-foot sidewalls, and the building height would be 25 feet 4 inches. There are 3 other properties within that near vicinity that have obtained county approvals for larger than allowed accessory structures. And we do have a map showing where those are located in the neighborhood there. So the property is non-riparian. It's in shoreland overlay, and Pine Lake to the south is a natural environment lake. Pine Lake is not on the impaired waters list. There are 2 septic systems on the property, one for the home and one for the detached garage. They were both certified and compliant. The impervious lot coverage is approximately 15%, so the proposal here will not impact or increase that lot coverage. Again, it's R1 setbacks and uses on this property because of the less than 5 acres. Avon Township, Avon Area Lakes Association, DNR and property owners within 500 feet have been notified of this request. Alternatives or recommended conditions. Obviously, grant or deny the variance request based on the findings of fact. Applicants must obtain an after-the-fact construction site permit for the existing pole-mounted solar panel if that after-the-fact variance is granted. If it is granted, then that existing garage can just be added on to that to clean that up. Also, the applicants must remove the 2 other sheds, the 12 by 22 and 12 by 24, by October 1st or prior to issuance of an after-the-fact construction site permit, regardless of the decision. And I did not receive any correspondence for this request or requests. Thank you.
All right, Brian, anything you want to say to the board?
Well, the solar panel, the extra solar panel was brought up when I got my first 2 solar panels. I had stakes in the ground and everything, and they had it up on the screen like this. And I had a pointer. I said, these 2 are going in this year, and this, right where this stake is going, that one's going in next year. So I assumed that this all was all bundled together as one permit. They all were put up within probably 6-8 months. They're all put up. So I had no clue that I was not compliant until I ran into Dave. He started going through stuff. And then I had those 2 storage buildings there. Well, I went through the variance for the solar panels, and I went through my septic system, and the buildings were there. And it was never, ever brought up to my attention. So now I'm in violation there again, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know my garage didn't have a building permit for it. I told Dave, I says, I got a permit. I got it through the township. I didn't have to go through the county. Nobody told me I had to go through the county. I'm a heating contractor. I know heating systems. I don't know this stuff. So Dave has been really good trying to help me out, trying to get things squared up and get things set up. So here I am to answer questions and so forth. I had property in Wisconsin, sold that. Well, all that stuff, the stuff I have sitting outside now, all went in my shed out in Wisconsin. Sold what I could or what I wanted to, and the rest I want to keep, and now I'd like to put a building up. Rental property right now, 10 by 24, and I checked with Albany, and that was, I believe it was $90 a month. I talked to a trap shooting buddy, and he bought a 5th-wheel camper, and he's paying $400 a month right now for storage for his camper. And I don't want to go that route. I'd like to get everything there so I can work on it when I need to.
Thank you. Any questions from board members for the staff or the applicant?
Question for staff. I apologize. Can you explain what non-riparian means, please?
Sure, Mr. Chair, Member DeLong. Non-riparian simply is a lot that's not directly on the resource. Yeah. So, sure.
And then the other question that I had is, in the summary where it says 3,362 square feet total accessory building area, does that include the solar panels?
Yes, it does.
And so the solar panels, are those they're a total of 502?
For 2.
2.
882 feet, I think, is what we figured.
I believe they were 882 with the 3 panels. They're 14 by 21 each. And in 2010, we didn't count the panels for accessory area.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do the math. So if we have 3362 minus 882, then it's the non-solar panel accessory structure square footage would be 2480.
And just an add-on question to that, then, she's figuring the 2480, if you don't count the solar panels. Is that accounting for the 2 small sheds being removed or not?
Mr. Chair, Member Mossman, that would not count those.
Okay.
Those are going to
So-
have to go.
Okay, so those are not in that total of 2480.
Those are
All
not
right,
included.
thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, my microphone was off. So just to summarize what I was saying for the record, I asked what the total square footage of the solar panels were, which was 882. So the math of 3362 minus 882 is 2480.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, Rob Schweigel, I have a question for staff. Back when the solar panels went up, you got a building permit for them, or did you need a variance for them?
Mr. Chair, Member Schweigel, he needed a variance because when the panels were oriented at maximum tilt, they exceeded that height.
High.
And at that time, we had a 15-foot height allowance. It's now 25, so he's a foot higher, and roughly about the height of the house, I would guess,
The house, garage, and solar panels will all be within 1 foot.
Yeah.
Okay.
about that.
But in that variance, was it just carte blanche? You can put up as many solar panels as you want, or did it say you are allowed to put up 2 panels?
I believe the staff report just,
It says the third one was installed without a permit, but
yeah, I believe the variance hearing, and maybe Mr. Pilarski could straighten the record on that, but everything discussed from what I could see out of the variance proceedings was 2 panels.
Mr. Chair, on the application that's up on the screen, it does say in the project description, 2 pole-mounted solar panels, max tilt height 26. So that was from 2010.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question for staff. You have in the packet, there's the picture of where the other neighborhood or neighbors that have things that exceed. To me, sometimes it makes a difference. Did they exceed by 100 square feet, 500, 1,000 square feet? I mean, it's easy to say there's 3 others in the neighborhood that exceed, but if it's only by a tiny amount.
Right. Mr. Chair, Member Mossman, I don't have the exact numbers. The property directly to the west, they came to the board twice, I believe. They obtained a permit to construct within the accessory building area. They went over. They came to the board denied and made them cut off 2 feet. So they did, and then they put on a covered entry that put them over again, and then they were back to the board. And then that was approved.
Okay, so it was the covered entry that really put them over.
Over on that
Okay.
one. The one to the south on the lake, the furthest lot to the east, that was a conditional use permit. At that time, only allowed for an 800 square foot structure via conditional use permit, and they got a permit to go to 1,200.
To 1,200.
So that was
Okay.
400 over. And I don't have the exact numbers on the one to the west. I could probably look up the permit or the variance. And find it fairly quickly. We'll do it this way. We're on Red Oak Circle. Search. There we go. I should have known this was, you were going to ask for this info. Bringing up the variance right now. Taking forever to load. If you want to proceed, I can pull this up and
Okay.
find out what that one to the west, how far that was over.
Well, actually, to proceed, I think we'd like to know that
Yeah,
that first.
yeah. We can wait a minute. It's not a big deal.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, it just popped up. Where's the staff report? A 61-page document. Okay, here we go. I got two variances. And I picked the wrong one first. Actually, there's three variances on that property. One was for the new house from
That's
the,
what happens when you're in Lake Shore.
one was for the new house from the lake, and then yeah, here we go. This was in 20 2010, or 20, excuse me.
2020.
Yep. 2020. Here we go. Struck the 1728. That one was 228 square feet over. Sorry.
What was the total square footage of that? 1728?
1728.
That would be for this one.
That's on the lake to the east. Yep, correct.
Yep.
Or excuse me, no, it's
To the
it's
one to the left.
furthest to the west. Yes.
Okay, that would be this one.
Yep.
The other one was 400 square feet over.
So this one was 200 over? Is that right?
228 and 400.
And then the other one was just for the covered entry.
Yeah, it was a couple hundred square feet, I think.
Yep. And we did ask them to downsize that building originally.
Right.
Is that correct?
And then they did, and then they put the
Yeah.
they put the
I
entry,
kind of remember that.
the
Yeah, I remember
overhang
that
on
one.
it.
Two people here, Jill and Bonnie, were
I was
both
there too,
on.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Jacob was on too.
I think I do.
I remember being in that neighborhood a lot.
Yeah.
The one with the trailer homes, I came a different way than before. I'm like, oh, I've been here before.
Yeah. So.
Any other questions or comments from board members for staff or the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, Rob Schweigel, for staff, is this all rolled together in one? The solar panel and the
We have
building?
We have 3 different findings.
Okay.
Yep. All right, any other question?
And just a comment is that, you know, I have mixed feelings about whether to count solar panels as impervious surface, but that's a discussion for another day. But even if you don't count the solar panels, here we're still, what is it, 1,200 over? Even if you don't,
I think
no,
it's at
24, we'd still be almost 1,000 over. And when we look at what we've done at the rest of the neighborhood, you know, one of our questions is related to, does it fit into the neighborhood? Although on the opposite side of it, one thing that we commented was when you drive up to this, it's so heavily wooded that you don't see it.
Correct.
That is a, you know, a plus on that side of it.
Our only complaint we get if we give it to one,
Right.
Yep.
2 months later, if somebody doesn't see the circumstances, well, he got it for that, I want to get it
And I had to.
that much more
I
too.
had to remove 2 feet from my building.
Well, I remember Angie Berg once telling us that you look at the one site. Like, you can kind of take into context the other ones, but you should still rule on the site that has the request as it is.
Mhm. But one of our questions is, does it fit into the neighborhood? You know, what else is in the neighborhood? Does it fit?
Yep.
All right, any other questions, comments from the board? I mean, you can speak to it back there if you'd like, but anyone in the audience
I
wishing to
wanted to
speak?
speak how long ago already?
Do you have anything more to say?
I don't know what they're, like, he's looking stuff up here, like the 2 neighbors, they got variance also. They're also over on height on theirs too, they're at 14 feet. So, the one he's looking up now, they're both at 14 foot, so they're over the height anyway.
Sure.
I need 16 feet to get a 14-foot garage door in because the trailer I have is 1311 to the air conditioner, and that's a pull behind. Now, if I switch to a gooseneck trailer, now I'm at 1311. 1311 I can get in because I can use my tractor, pull the jacks way up, lower the front way down, and then you can get it in to get it past air conditioner. So you can get it in that way.
Technically, you could get by with a 14-foot sidewall too. You just have to put sliding doors on. You can't put an overhead door.
Not if I'm gonna heat it.
And
It's gonna be heated. It's also gonna be a workshop so I can work on my camper, my gooseneck trailer.
no, but I'm just
Trailers
saying,
don't even fit in my buildings, my
I'm
tractor.
just saying you could, because I've got a 16-foot sidewall and I got a 14-foot door. But I could have a 14-foot door if I went sliding doors instead of overhead. So there is a way.
Yeah.
It's,
And then on the blueprint, it says right there, it says that new 14 by 14 foot door is in the center. I'd love to put it in the center, and I love to go vaulted ceiling, and I would love to stay with a 14-foot sidewall, keep the cost of my building down. But if you look at my site drawing, there's absolutely no way I'm going to back a trailer or anything in there because I have two oak trees that are in the way. You see, I won't be, because a camper is 36 feet long, and my truck, I need 26 feet for my truck, 24 feet for my truck. And that big oak tree is 50 feet away from the truck, away from the new building if I get it. So it has to be moved all the way over to the right side. And I want to make the house and the new addition to the garage and existing garage look uniform. I'm going to redo the house siding and everything. That siding's going to go also on to the new and old garage to make so you look at it, oh, it's a mirror image from the house to the garage. So it's at least going to look decent.
Anything else from anyone?
They're not going to see it anyway because, well, like you said, all the trees, you don't even notice my solar panels anymore. Normally you can see them from the highway when they put them in. You can't now. Hardly notice them when you drive around Red Oak Circle. So a height issue, I don't think wouldn't be too much of an issue there as far as aesthetics.
All right. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to this request? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request? Hearing none. Looking for a motion and a second to close the public hearing, please.
Jill DeLong, so moved.
Motion from Jill. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Rob. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And so we need to do this in 3 parts, I believe, right?
Two.
2.
Well,
I've
we
got-
could do it all in one, but it's best to do it.
Yeah, should we just start with the solar panels then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's why you have 3 is if we did. it
Yeah,
all in
yeah,
one.
I think that's, yeah. All right, so for our solar panels here, starting with the finding of facts, question number 1, the proposed use is allowed in the zoning districts in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Yes, there's already solar panels there. It would be just an additional one, and it is allowed in this district.
All right, we have a yes from Bonnie. Jill?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Rob?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
All right, a yes for number 1. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls, yes or no?
I believe that the one additional solar panel is at the same height and size as the other 2. So I believe, and those were permitted by a variance. So this would be just matching up with those. So I believe that it would be in harmony with the general purposes.
Okay, a yes from Bonnie. Jill?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Rob?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
Yes for number 2. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, Jill DeLong, under connectivity, sustainability, and resilience policies, number 1, support policies, programs, best practices, and efforts that promote reuse of resources, energy-efficient equipment, and development and reduction of energy use. So yes.
And in addition to that, I'd add the additional policies of the clean energy policy, 1, 3, and 5 also fit with that.
All right, I've got a yes from Jill and Bonnie. Rob?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so a yes for number 3. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, I believe it is reasonable to have a solar panel on your property.
Okay. Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Yes for number 4. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner, yes or no?
I'm going to say yes. Part of me wants to say no, but if the third one had been proposed at the time that the other two were, I believe it probably would have been approved. Even though this probably isn't the plight of the landowner. I'm going to say yes for this for that reason.
Jill?
I'm going to say yes, as from speaking with the applicant, his memory of 12 years ago was that he had told them he was having 2 built in the fall or whenever it was, and the third one was going to be built just a few months later when, after winter. So his recollection was that he had told people it was going to be 3. So I don't know what happened 12 years ago, but I'm going to say that, yes, it is due to circumstances unique to the property.
Okay, Rob?
Yes.
Ken?
I'm going to say yes.
And I'm a yes, so yes for number 5. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, they're there now, and it won't be any different tomorrow. I guess so it won't change anything.
Yes from Ken. Jill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Yes for number 6. And number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations, yes or no?
I would say yes, it does involve more than economics.
Okay, Jill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Yes for number 7, so all 7 questions being answered in the affirmative. I'd look for a motion to leave these solar panels as constructed, if I can get a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to, Bonnie Mossman, make a motion to leave the solar panel as constructed 26 feet in height and exceeding the accessory building area.
Okay, second?
Jill DeLong, I second.
Jill? Okay, Rob?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So your motion for the solar panels is granted. And now moving on to our construction of the accessory structure building. Number 1, the proposed use is allowed in the zoning districts in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, Jill DeLong, yes, it is allowed to have an accessory structure in that zoning district.
Okay. Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ken? And I'm a yes. Yes for number 1. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, Jill DeLong, I believe it will not be in harmony, as it is almost 1,000 square feet larger than what's currently allowed, and that's excluding how we currently count the solar panels. So I do not believe it will be in harmony.
Okay. Bonnie?
I'm going to agree with Jill and say no.
Rob?
No.
Ken? No. I'm a no. So no for number 2. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, Jill DeLong, I'm going to say no for the comprehensive plan under Lakeshore Living Policies, number 3 of discouraging the alteration of natural shorelands and the creation of impervious surface in near shore areas. I believe by having this beyond the permitted building area, that's creating impervious surface.
Okay, and no from Jill. Bonnie?
No.
Rob?
No.
Ken? No. I'm a no. No for number 3. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, I believe it is reasonable to want a shed to put your camper in. I think it's reasonable to want a shed big enough for your camper. So yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ken? And I'm a yes for number 4. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, I would say this would be another no. It's, he's created the plight because he's making a building bigger than he's allowed to build on that size of a lot.
All right, no from Ken. Jill?
No.
Bonnie?
No.
Rob?
No.
And I'm a no. No for number 5. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
I'm going to say no for the reason that variances that were granted to other locations in the area were for a couple hundred square feet, where, this is 5 times that
Okay.
amount of variance.
No from Bonnie. Jill?
I'm going to say yes. As we saw on the map, there are other people who have large-sized accessory buildings, and as the applicant has stated, and as we saw when we visited, there are lots of trees around, so it'd be really hard to be able to see it. I don't believe a larger garage is going to change the essential character, so I'm a yes.
Okay, Rob?
I'm going to agree with Jill, say yes.
Ken?
I can go one way or the other, so I guess I'll go with a yes. It would fit into the neighborhood, it's just not allowed.
Correct, and I would agree with that. It would fit in well. I'll say a yes for me for number 6. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations, yes or no?
I believe that it does involve more than just economics, so I would say yes for number 7.
Okay, Jill?
I'm going to say no, as it sounded like from the applicant that the reason why he wants to build this large shed is because he doesn't want to pay to store it someplace else. So I'm a no.
Okay, Rob?
No.
Ken?
I'll say yes.
And I'll say yes for number 7, so that's a yes there. Since there were questions not answered in the affirmative, we would need to look for a motion in a second to deny this variance request for the construction of the accessory shed.
Mr. Chair, Jill DeLong, I move that we deny the request to construct a 34 by 40 accessory structure addition.
All right, and a second.
I'll second it.
Second from Ken. Remaining votes. Bonnie?
No. Yes.
Rob?
Vote to
Yep.
deny.
Rob?
Yes.
And then I am a yes as well. So the motion is denied. And then if you want to come back to environmental services, they can kind of help you sort something out. So thank you for being here.
I guess so. There's no impervious.
We're talking about 3. How could it be 3? Parts to this.
No, he had 3 findings.
Told you.
And they said to divide it into the, yeah.
Both together. And one with.
Okay.
And do you want to see if, because the next applicants are on WebEx, do you want to see if they're here for us? Yep.
What was the third one?
They just
The
did
sidewalls?
No, they just did 2 separate solar panels.
Oh.
They just did
Sure.
that, and I figured it'd be easier
Oh,
to just do it all at once. Yep,
Those applicants are joining remotely.
and I'm just, if they're here, like on remote.
Yes, we're here.
All right, thank you very much. I'll read out the agenda then. Agenda item number 4, to consider a request from Richard and Lori Jennison of Sauk Center, Minnesota, Section 6.21P, Table M of Subsurface Sewage Treatment System Ordinance 422, to place a sewage tank less than 75 feet landward of Sauk Lake, classified recreational development. Said ordinance requires a minimum setback of 75 feet for lakes classified recreational development. Affected property, Lot 35 of Evelyn's Addition, part of government lots 2 and 3 in Section 34. of Government Lot 3 of said section, Township and Range, Sauk Center Township. Property address is 44228 Sauk View Drive, Sauk Center, Minnesota. And the applicants, if I can get your name and address for the public record, please.
Yes, excuse me. My name is Rick Jennison,
And my name is Lori Jennison.
and our address is 44248 Sauk View Drive in Sauk Center, Minnesota.
All right, thank you very much. And then before I go to the staff report, I will do a roll call of the members who were able to visit the site. Jill?
Yes.
Rob? Yes. George?
No.
I'm a yes. Bonnie?
Yes.
And Ken?
Yes.
All right, staff to your report, please.
Applicants purchased this subject property in February of 2022. This plat, Evelyn's Edition, was done in 1959. This particular tract is about 34,116 square feet or 0.78 acres in area. The existing three-bedroom dwelling was constructed prior to the official controls. Permit was obtained for a replacement septic system and is on record from the year 1978. The system that serves the dwelling was certified for property transfer and found to be non-compliant last November. The applicants have a design completed by a licensed septic designer to replace the failed system, and it is sized appropriately to accommodate the three bedrooms that are in the dwelling. This licensed designer determined that the proposed tank location is best suited for the site. The property is in the shoreline overlay of Sauk Lake. It's a rec development lake. Sauk Lake is on the list of impaired waters for nutrients and mercury in fish tissue. The property is in an R1 zoning district. Sauk Center Township, City of Sauk Center, the Sauk River Watershed District, Big Sauk Lake Association, DNR, and owners within 500 feet have been notified of the request. And basically grant or deny the variance requested as based on the findings. I don't have any correspondence for this request.
Okay, and applicants, anything you want to talk to the board about with your request?
Oh, yeah, so we bought the properties next door to our house, and we rented out to two people. We hired Scott Elwood from Elwood Septic Professionals to decide, where the location of the tank should be and so forth. And so we went with his recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from board members for the applicant or the staff?
Didn't have that info.
Just a comment from visiting the site. It looked like it probably was very difficult to find spots to put these in on this property because of the narrowness of the property. And, always to me in a septic system, where the drain field is the greatest concern to me. And it looks like the drain field is about as far out away from the lake as they could get it. And then the tank is a sealed tank, and so to me that's of less concern of being too close to the water.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Hearing none. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request? Hearing none, looking for a motion and a second to close the public hearing, please.
Mr. Chair, George Fiedler, I'll move to close the hearing.
Motion from George. Can I get a second?
Robert Weigel, I'll second.
Second from Rob. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now moving to our finding of facts. The proposed use is allowed in the zoning districts in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, Jill DeLong, yes, it is allowed to have a septic sewage tank in a residential area.
All right, yes from George, or Jill. George?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so a yes for number 1. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls, yes or no?
Bonnie Mossman, I believe it will. Ordinance 422, 1.3.1 and 1.3.2 talk about the intent of the controls. And looking at this, even though they don't meet the setback, they tried to meet the intent as much as they could.
Okay, so we have a yes from Bonnie. Jill?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Rob? Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so yes for number 2. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
And Rob Schweigel, under Lakeshore Living Policy, number 4, address wastewater treatment and water quality problems through county water plan, watershed districts, lake associations, and other partnerships.
All right, a yes from Rob for number 3. Jill?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so a yes for number 3. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, George Fiedler, yes, having a septic is reasonable use. Makes sense.
All right, yes from George. Jill?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yeah.
Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so yes for number 4. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, George Fiedler, they're hampered by size of the lot, and so they did the best they could. And environmental concerns, as far as I'm concerned, out-trump distances, so I'd say yes.
All right, yes from George. Jill?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And Ken? And I'm a yes, so a yes for number 5. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Mr. Chairman, Rob Schweigel, it's not going to change the neighborhood in any way. You're not going to see it.
Okay, yes from Rob. Jill?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so yes for number 6. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations, yes or no?
Bonnie Mossman, yes, it does.
Okay, Jill?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Rob? Ken?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so yes for number 7. So all questions being answered in the affirmative, I'd be looking for a motion to approve this variance request.
Mr. Chair, Jill DeLong, I move that we approve a variance from section 6.2.1P, table M of subsurface sewage treatment system ordinance number 422 to place a sewage tank 50 feet from the ordinary high water level of Sauk Lake.
All right, and can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Ken. All right, George?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Rob? Yes. And I'm a yes. So the variance is approved. Any questions, please contact staff during regular business hours. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet. And now moving, we have minutes to approve. Is it June and July or just June here?
June and July.
June and July.
Did we ever get July's? I don't recall.
I don't know.
July not get sent?
We never got it.
I don't.
We have June here.
Okay. Let's do June then, because.
Okay, so June's then? Okay, can I get approval, motion to approve the June minutes of the Board of Adjustment proceedings? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, email, okay.
Email? No, I didn't.
Let me look.
I didn't see it.
Let's
If you
see.
looked at the email, then we will wait to make that approval, so.
Okay.
I don't want you, yeah, I was gonna say, I thought we sent them out.
We
Deb.
might, I don't,
Mr. Chair.
maybe.
I wasn't home Friday.
Mr. Chair, George Fiedler, I will move to approve the June meeting minutes.
All right, we have a motion from George to approve the minutes. Can I get a second?
I'll second. Bonnie Mossman.
All those in favor of approving the June minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Motion carries. Any other business? What are there, 6 variances for next month?
That's, yeah.
Okay.
And so read your minutes. They should be, they were sent out in an email. Would you like them resent?
Sure.
Well, if they were sent, I'll go home and
Go
check. if
home
we
and
got
look
'em.
from Friday. They should have been Friday afternoon.
Okay. Maybe, I don't remember. Oh, there you go. Anything else? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
Move to adjourn.
Motion from Ken, second.
Jill DeLong, I'll second.
Second from Jill. All those in favor of adjourning the board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Board is adjourned.